Hello and welcome to this Let's Play. Today we're going to be going through some Factorio, basically starting a new game. We're going to go with a large world with a lot of space between the resource patches. That's the Rail World preset. In this case, I am following along personally with Catherine of Sky's entry-level to megabase series. And these are the parameters you want to copy if you want to try and build a megabase. You want a large starting area. You can pick large or very large, big or very big. It doesn't matter. You do want a larger starting area though, so you can spread out a bit. High richness on the resource settings you saw, because we're going to be mining the ever-living crap out of these resources. And for me, I like to play with biters disabled. So I have peaceful mode turned on and enemy expansion is disabled. So I'm going to go through and generate a couple of maps here. And I'm sorry, you're getting a voiceover on this video because OBS has decided it doesn't want to record audio of any kind. So I'm going to have to go back through and figure out why it won't do that. So in this case, what we want in a starting area is a decent-sized patch of iron, a decent-sized patch of coal, which is actually fairly important because we're going to be using a lot of power, along with, reasonable-sized patches of copper and some amount of oil in the starting area. This one doesn't have a whole lot of iron. There's a little bit of iron out on the over on the west there. So this one we've got a smallish patch of coal around that lake and a lot of copper. A big section of iron over here and a tiny amount of oil, and that is the issue here. There's no oil in the starting map. That's not going to work very well. I tried to play a game with that, and that's no fun because you can't build rail without oil. Alright, so we've got a little starter lake, some oil around it. You can see we've got plenty of iron. There's some coal in here. This looks pretty good. There's a starting patch of, starting patches for all three things we need. We've got stone and, there's stone and copper and coal and iron all around that lake. And some starting oil. That's going to work really well. So I think, absolutely. I think this is going to be our starting map. We have a very large iron deposit just a short ways away, and another very large copper deposit. Yeah, this is pretty much ideal. These big resource deposits. There's even uranium on the map. So yeah, I think this is going to do it. Let's go. Okay, so my starting path in Factorio has been fairly lackadaisical until I discovered blueprints and figured out how they work. Again, thanks to Catherine of Sky, who was nice enough to explain them without making me feel like a complete dunce. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab my blueprint book, which I will link in the video description. It's got a couple of good, a number of good early game blueprints in it. I'll also bring down the new blueprint and the destruction planner and pin those in my toolbar. You can pin something in your toolbar by using the middle mouse button. So let's just get our bearings here. There's our iron. We pointed out the stone and the copper already. So let's start out by making an iron axe. So if you've never played Factorio, crafting in your pocket occurs in the lower left corner when you select something in the inventory. So I'm using the E key to bring up my inventory. I think we're going to start by extracting some iron. So we have, right now our only fuel is wood, which isn't the best, but it's all we've got at the moment. We'll go tend to our coal patch in just a second here, but first, let's gather up some more wood. Okay, with the wood gathered, we can fuel our... Yeah, we'll take half of that stack and put it in there. The miners seem to use a bit more fuel than the furnaces do. So what's going to happen with those two paired together is that miner is going to mine iron ore and shove it directly into that furnace, which is going to smelt it and turn it into iron plate, which is actually useful. So fortuitously, we found one of these big rocks that are spawned now in 1.6, or in 0.16, rather. And they're cool because they give you stone really quickly, because otherwise you just have to like bang on the ground for a while to get stone. But they also give you some coal, which is really helpful to just kind of get an infusion of coal, especially early in the game. So I'm going to reorient things here. There's this little tiny outlier patch here that I think I'm going to suck this dry first. So we'll just start doing that and get rid of that patch of iron that's just sitting out there doing nothing. It's just kind of funny, its positioning. And I realized that I put all of my wood into... Yes, and then I realized that I'm using wood when I have coal in my inventory because I'm smart. Okay, so we'll use coal for fuel, and we'll just throw half in that one and the other half in the other one. Perfect. So those are going to be mining iron. Alright, so those are ironing mines. They're mining iron. So let's go check on our coal deposit. We've got 2 burner miners in our inventory. And what we can do is we can set these up as a little daisy chain, a 2-part daisy chain. If we point them at each other, I need 1 coal to start this thing. But you can see here, if I turn on the arrows with the Alt key, you can see that these 2 miners are now feeding the coal that they mine, they're feeding it into each other. So they start carrying coal inside them in their inventory. And you can see the over here on the right side, you can see the amount of coal in it. That one's got 6, that one has 5, that one now has 7. Yeah, so they'll start building up coal, and we can just run over, hold down Control, and just swipe our cursor across them and take all of their coal. And they'll just keep doing that quite happily until they fill up with 50 coal each. So, head back to our iron patch here. We want to start mining this patch pretty aggressively. And to do that, I didn't quite catch that one quickly enough. To do that, we're going to need some more furnaces, because we want finished product to come out of that. So, in order to do that, I made a box, put it on the end of a miner on the stone patch, and that's going to give us stone, because these furnaces, these are stone furnaces, and all they require is stone, just raw quarried stone. Not stone bricks, they don't need any steel, they're really easy to make. They're also fairly slow as far as production goes, but there's some interesting ratios that go on in the game that are they're obviously planned to do it that way. But you can see when you have these burner miners need a furnace to run, to be built, to be crafted. So when you have one already in your inventory, it consumes the furnace, unfortunately. So it always makes sense to build, if you know you need a burner miner and a furnace, it, excuse me, it always makes sense to build your burner miners first, or any of the items that require the prerequisites first, and then build the other items you need that are also prerequisites. So for example, if you know you need 5 inserters, I'm going to take out this stone because I hate stones. Just kill the stone. So if you know you need, yeah, mostly it's because I need more stone really badly. And really early on, I'm expanding this daisy chain here on the coal patch because it's really annoying to run back and forth to this coal patch because it's really long. It's a ways out there. It's a big map, and you know, big starting area did what I wanted it to. But now you can see, with more miners, you can see how they're filling each other up. As that one drops coal into that one, yeah, you can see the blinking no fuel warnings go away. So then you just run over to these things and grab all the coal out of them. They will just continue happily, quite merrily. So, while we're here, let's put a miner and a furnace on our copper patch and get that going. This copper is a good thing to have. We're going to need it later, and if we've already got a small storage of it, it's going to make things a lot faster. So we'll run back here. Let's throw some coal in this miner. 20-ish coal, not quite 20 coal. It'll be fine. We have a fair amount of stone. So our goal is to get about 8 burner miners on this patch of iron first, just to satisfy our requirements for iron, because iron is one of the materials in the game that you need the most of by far. So again, running back to the coal patch to get more coal, which is why we expanded it so early. And you can make these daisy chains as big as you want. You just turn them into drive-by copper. you just turn them into, instead of this line of miners that we have there, you can turn them into rings of burner miners, and they will just mine coal all day long. It's fantastic. It's a really quick way to do mining early in the game, coal mining especially early in the game. So we'll drop some coal in our miners and make sure that they are all happy and mining away. Let's take some of their iron and let's build some miners. So yeah, being able to build 7 burner miners means we can build 3, a whopping 3. My brain is not working. Furnaces, stone furnaces. Because of that weird relationship where you need to build a combo of, you know, a miner and a furnace, it takes 3 furnaces, or 2 furnaces. Because you need a furnace for the miner, and then you need the furnace that's actually the furnace. So we'll fill those 5. We'll grab the iron out of there really quick. Run over to our stone patch and get some more stone so we can finish off that last stone furnace. So the goal early on, really early on, is to basically to get to electricity. I'm talking very early. Eventually, the whole goal of the game, you can consider the game beaten when you launch a rocket into space. And there's a whole bunch of requirements and crazy tech that you have to get in order to get a rocket out of the atmosphere And, but right now, right now, our very short-term goal is going to be getting electricity, because electricity means that we can do science, which means we can climb the tech tree, which that is key to advancement in this game, is getting up that tech tree. Researching, building new things, eventually getting new technologies, that's absolutely essential. So I just dumped a bunch of coal into these two with the hopes that we'll be able to mine those flat. You can see how little there is in those iron patches. 200 and 500, maybe 800 iron ore between the two of them. It's a ridiculously small patch. So I'm gonna go after it. For the other ones, we'll just drop in a fairly even amount of coal. We're still a little low on coal. We can't like drop, whole stacks of coal in these things. But that's okay, because we are going to transition away from these pretty darn quickly. And we're definitely acutely low on coal. So, to get to electricity, these are the things we need. We need an offshore pump, at least one boiler, and at least one steam engine. In this case, we are going to build 5 boilers and 10 steam engines. And we're going to put them right there, I think. Because I think that would be the best. We can expand it upwards away from the lake. One boiler will handle 2 steam engines, and one pump will handle 20 boilers. So we can have 40 steam engines off of one offshore pump, which is ridiculous, but okay. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to start with just 5 boilers, 10 engines, and we'll start there. It seems like a lot, but it's not really that many. So we were able to build about, 5 or 6 or 7 steam engines. I think we were able to build 7, and I just clicked it twice more, so we're going to have 9 when we're all said and done. Again, you want to build your prerequisites last, or items that are prerequisites last. We're going to need a couple of pipes, but pipes are also used in steam engines. So we're going to build our pipes after we build our steam engines. So I'm going to clear this area out. Took out some of those trees. We're going to take out this big rock, which is going to net us a little coal as well, which is cool. And it looks like that's it. That's about as far out as we're going to go with these steam engines for now. We have an okay number of coal patches around here, so we may actually be able to get this out all the way to the full 40 steam engines. I am playing another game off the channel that is very light on coal, and I'm going to have to, it's forcing me to go solar much earlier than I had anticipated. Which is fun. I mean, adversity is, it breeds interesting ideas. So we're going to put this boiler down, I'd say probably right about there. And what you can do is you can put pairs of them together and then leave one space so that you can run your electrical poles in between your steam engines so that you can actually pull power from them. Because we're making this pretty compact, we can throw down our steam engines. There they all are. 10 steam engines. Just like that. Real easy, just plop, plop, plop. Apparently you just had that in your pocket. So the primary connectors to actually pull power from the steam engines are here. But then I also want to move a power pole out towards the front because eventually I'm going to use normal inserters, I think, in order to power these. So, okay, right, so your toolbar. You can pin things to your toolbar with the middle mouse button, but if you don't have anything there yet, you can middle mouse click that slot, and it'll bring up a picker of what you want to filter into that slot. And once you build one of those things, the game will put them there. It will put those things there and only there. At least, priority-wise. They'll go there until they overflow your toolbar, and then they'll go into your inventory, into your backpack. So, with that done, I want to lay out some belt here. So we need to put the belt one space away from the boilers, and I think we're going to run coal up from the south. So it looks like that patch it's pretty close. It's basically equidistant. But if we do expand north, we'll want to run this belt in one direction only. We don't want to try and add coal to the middle of the belt. So I add power here. This isn't necessary because I'm going to be using burner inserters. Burner inserters will fuel themselves if they're handling fuel. So in this case, they're going to be handling coal, so they'll be able to keep themselves fueled, which is nice. If we end up overrunning the amount of electricity we're using, the burner inserters will still put coal into the boilers, and we will still get power. If we're using conventional inserters, we can end up really crippling our power system just with a brownout, because those inserters, will start to lose power, and those inserters will start to move slower, and they'll start putting less coal in the boilers, and the boilers will start running cold, and then we start getting even less power, and then everything starts to slow down, and then we're out of power, and we're done until we run over there and manually put coal back into the boilers. So at least using a burner inserter early on means that you're not as likely to run completely out of power. You'll still experience brownouts if you overrun the amount of power you're generating, but you're not going to get into critical no power situations where you absolutely have to run over to your power generation facility and turn the crank, basically. So the next step is feeding those boilers with coal from our coal patch. So with a little bit of quick tending to our iron patch here, we'll just pick up some of that iron again and run over to the coal patch and start the belt from there as well. Or no, we'll run it that direction. So super fun to try and build belt while you're also crafting it in your pocket. Not the greatest thing. Because you end up just standing around for a while. While we wait, I think we'll check on our coal patch, or our copper patch. Oh yeah, so we have to clear these out as well, because using this daisy chain is not going to work with belt-fed coal. So I will show you what I use early game to belt feed coal. Before we do that, let's check on all of our systems. Copper is doing well. We are building belt, lots and lots of belt. So what I do is I'm going to space these two spaces apart. We've got 6 of them, so let's put them in a symmetrical arrangement. So the reason I'm putting these 2 apart is I'm going to auto-feed them with burner inserters. So the coal's going to come out of the burner miner, hop onto the belt, and what we don't see here right now, because I don't have any crafted, so I was waiting for my belts to finish crafting, which, hint hint, me in the video, they have finished crafting. There we go, we've got our burner inserters. So if you set these burner inserters to pull off of the belt, the first couple of pieces of coal that come out of the miner, of the burner miner here, are going to feed the burner inserter. And like the burner inserters that are feeding our boilers over in the east, these are going to keep these burner coal miners fed with power. So until we have electricity over to this site, we can... I'm clearly explaining something that I don't remember what I was saying when I was explaining it. I think I'm explaining the burner miners. Anyway, there we've got that connected. Coal will flow. Oh, that's what it was. We're going to eventually have to tap off of that coal line. We're going to need a splitter, but we don't have that researched yet. That's what I was explaining. I remember now. So I'm filling these with half stacks because their days are numbered. You can control right click on these to just drop a half a stack in it. I never remember that. So yeah, the days for these little miners are definitely numbered. It's pretty good. That one's getting down to only 40 left on the patch. So we crafted 2 labs. You may have glanced at that as we were walking back from our coal mine. And what these labs are going to do for us is they're going to perform our research. You can see everything here has no power, there's no electricity. That's because the coal has not arrived yet. In order to do science, you need to research science in the labs, and labs require electricity, time, and science packs, which typically are you just call them by their colors. In this case, early in the game, you can make red and green science. That's Science Pack 1 and Science Pack 2. They use these as a sort of ore. And crafting them, as you can see in the corner, is extremely slow. So what we're going to do is pull out my blueprint book that I pulled out early in the game. And I have a little blueprint here for red science labs. These will just make red science and drop them into the labs. So to use a blueprint, you pull it out of your blueprint book, and when you hover over the world, you get these images of whatever is in the blueprint. Q clears your cursor just like it would if you're placing pipe or belt. Yes, Q clears it. It doesn't clear the blueprint, it clears your cursor. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed these 2 labs with this science. And we're going to do this in an automated fashion, or a semi-automatic automated fashion. So to place it down like this, you want to shift-click. That will place down ghost images. So it acknowledges that the lab units themselves are there, and then it places down the other items. And later in the game, you can use ghost images to build via construction robots, but early in the game, it's a really good way to literally blueprint things. And in this case, we were waiting for that science to finish crafting before we can put down some of these boxes. You see the blueprint calls for wooden boxes. You can throw wooden boxes in there. Now the thing is, we don't have those yet. Those are assembly machines, and we can't build them yet because we haven't researched them in our labs. So if we throw our red science in our lab and open up the tech tree, the first thing we get is automation 1, which gives us that assembly machine. So the labs will pull power from our steam engines, and they'll consume all of the red science that's in them. So if we fill out this blueprint, and I counted just a second there, a second ago there, we need seven inserters, not assemblers, 3 assemblers, 7 inserters. Hopefully by the time I'm done placing these inserters, oh, just about. Automation's about 3/4 done. So red science requires copper plate and iron gear wheel. You can see we're building iron gear wheels in this assembler, but then these boxes also need copper plates in them. Since this box also feeds the gear wheel assembler, it's going to need iron plates as well. So I'll just have what I'm carrying and put it in here. And our automation has finished. So you can see it's done, it's green. So we now have access to assembling machines. They're in a different spot than I thought they were. But you can see that we need some of this copper back out of these chests to build our 3 assembly machines. I'm going to grab 10 out of here. And that's enough to build 2 of them, of course. Alright, I'll grab another 10. I'll just come back and fill these 2 boxes back up with copper so we don't run out. Anyway, the nice part about blueprints is that when you plop them down, they retain the recipe that's set inside them, so you don't have to go through and reset all of the recipes, which is nice. That was a feature that was added in 0.16, I believe. You used to have to use a mod for that functionality. So anyway, these are now going to make red science. If we queue up some science, let's do optics so we can get lights. Because yeah, you're not gonna be able to see anything without lights. So let's do that, and we'll let that science. Here I am doing science. So those are going to science away over there. The limitation being, of course, that they only do red science, which is okay for now, because I have a plan for that. Alright, so let's up our... Yeah, let's definitely increase our copper production. So we'll throw some coal in here. And go grab some more. So now, since we don't have our daisy chain, we can't just go run and grab coal from our machines. So we run along the coal belt instead. And if you hold down F, you can see coal adds to your inventory, especially when you hit the full 2 lanes of the belt. Coal adds into your inventory fairly quickly, running along the belt, holding down F. So that works pretty nicely. And that's going to be the method of getting stuff for the foreseeable future until we build a mall, which allows us to go and grab the random things that we need. So our optics finished. The next thing we need is that splitter I had mentioned earlier. Logistics gives us the splitter, the underground belt, and the fast inserter, so we're going to go ahead and research that. And we'll fill up these furnaces. Well, sort of fill them up, because we got to go check on our iron in a second. To mine our iron, we are going to be using electric mining drills. And they're a bit more complicated to build, but since we have a good supply of copper already to build the green circuits that they require, it shouldn't be too difficult. That's the other reason for building 3 more miners. Oh yeah, look at that. We are almost done with that patch. That's great. That's the other reason for building all of those miners up there on the coal patch, or on the copper patch. We need more copper. So I'm just going to try and get that little last little tag of iron there. It's probably not going to work, but it makes me feel better. And just fill these up. That one looks okay. That one's only got 6 in it. So we'll just even some of these out a bit. Again, their days are numbered. It doesn't really matter. This one has run out. Okay, well, let's pull that one. Again, this whole patch's days are really numbered. Like, it has minutes. It has minutes or minutes remaining. So we'll go harvest our iron and build some lamps because it's freaking dark in here. And run some power down here so we can start building electric mining drills. Stupid tree. The real enemies of Factorio, the trees. So what I'm doing here is, if you put down a power pole, you can just click and drag when you're placing a power pole, like here. I'm going to do this like that, click and drag, and you can, the game will space out these power poles automatically, which is really convenient. You can just kind of fire and forget, drag some power out to a place. I'm going to pull this power all the way out to here, and I know I'm going to need power here for the copper patch in a bit, so just leave that there for now, and go back and grab some, we'll put a light down. Make it not so spooky. And do I grab the copper on the way back? No, I should have. I should have grabbed the copper. So with light in hand, we can make this place not as spooky. And we are getting real close to using electric mining drills on this patch. The thing is, once we have electric mining drills on here, we're going to need to feed this ore into something else. So right now we're just pulling finished plates out of these furnaces, which is great, works really well. However, if we throw down a bunch of electric mining drills, we're going to need to put that mined ore into something. And I have a plan for that. So this whole area here, we're going to use the starter base. I have a blueprint, of course. So we're going to put our red science labs back into the blueprint book. And I'm going to grab my red-green science smelt blueprint. This is not my blueprint. This comes from the Catherine of Sky Factorio videos. She has it on a Google Drive somewhere, but I just copied it from her video and built it. It's actually a really, really compact starter smelting area. So you can see we are going to run two furnace columns here horizontally. These filter inserters I'm waving at tell you what goes where. So that's a copper side. In the middle goes coal, and on the south side of the belt, the southern belt, is iron. And this whole thing will run from... So I'm trying to figure out how many things we need. This is a thing you can do with the blank blueprint. And I'm not counting the right things. So I'm going to narrate this in a second. I was talking to myself this entire time because OBS wasn't picking up what I was recording. Here we go. So that I made a blueprint and then I canceled it. So if we just go with this non-science part, just the beginning smelting area, we need just about 90 inserters, 130 belts, You can ignore the filter inserters, we don't need those. You can also ignore the fast inserters. So like 92, 91 inserters, about 30 power poles, some chests, some lights because the dark is scary, and importantly, 33 furnaces. So yeah, 33 furnaces, and you can see our poor little stone machine down here is just blinking out of fuel. So we're going to do this in a slightly more intelligent way. We are going to feed stone into an assembly machine. And what I want to do with this actually is find a nice big patch, because we're going to be making, not just for this blueprint that we just saw, we're going to be making a lot of furnaces. So I want this to be on basically the densest part of the stone patch that we can get. I'm going to put down 2 burner miners. For now, I'll make them electric miners eventually. But it looks like this should give us about 7,000 out of each miner. I mean, I could make these electric miners right now, but for whatever reason, I'm not. Because I'm weird. I don't know why. Anyway, it's kind of a neat trick here. So this is just going to make furnaces. Nothing but furnaces. We'll grab a regular inserter, an electric inserter. It's going to pull furnaces out of the assembly machine and put them in a box, which, oh, we already had one made, darn it. Keep those on the tool belt so we don't lose track of them. So now we just need power and fuel, and that is going to fill that box up with, yes, we need fuel. That's going to fill that box up with furnaces. Of course, we don't have a whole lot of coal, so I'm going to have to go run on the belt a bit. While we do that, let's pull power up there. Actually, here's one of the nice things about a blueprint. You can see where we are going to be building power poles in just a little bit before this video is over. So let's just fill in some of the power poles already that we already have in this blueprint. Let's just fill them in right now. And that will serve the dual purpose of getting us power down to this miner, or down to this assembly machine, as well as getting this, saving us a little bit of trouble later. So we can't really click and drag because we've got a whole bunch of weird stuff going on, and I don't want to cross that copper field because that's going to be full of miners soon. Full of mining drills. So we'll just go around across the top and get this in the right spot. Okay, so we have power going down to our assembler. Now we need to fuel it with coal. So we'll just run along the belt and grab some coal. Perfect. Throw some coal in this one before we leave, so it has enough coal. Alright, so let's go feed our stone furnaces. I didn't refuel them, that was bad. I am dumb. But you can see how quickly they make furnaces. It's fantastic. You don't have to build them in your pocket, you don't have to carry a bunch of stone around. You just have furnaces. And it seems like a weird thing to have, except that some of the things we're going to be building in a little bit, a couple of videos later, if I continue this video series, which I might do, it depends, we're going to need a lot of furnaces, like a lot of furnaces. So yes, these, I'm just gesturing to these miners, these miner and furnace pairs, their days are very numbered. We're coming for them right now. So we'll just smelt some of the leftover ore in our pocket, throw it in that furnace. And while we let these smelt, let's go. Yeah, let's build some belt so we can actually get this stuff over to our brand new smelting array. So this this design throws the ore onto 1/2 of one yellow belt. So we need about 13 miners. So I think I'm going to build 12 and change here. Do I wait for the belt to finish, or do I cancel the belts building? I don't know what I'm doing at this point. I built 12 of them. It's not quite 12. It's a little bit more than 12. Just owing to weird quirks. Lack of compression in a belt, and yeah. You could fill most of a column. Anyway. So that's going to saturate one side of one belt. For now, I'm going to throw in all of our other belts. These are the coal belts out of that splitter, which we can build now. We can build splitters. Right, time crafting. What else can we build while I wait for things to craft? Let's queue up a whole bunch of inserters. Because we needed 90. That's 90 inserters. That's going to be a while. So let's put in our power poles. So again, having this blueprint just sitting here makes it really easy to throw in power poles. You know exactly where they're supposed to go. You can just drop them right in. This particular blueprint is really messy. There isn't a whole lot of symmetry and pattern matching in it. So it's a little more annoying to try and throw down like power poles and stuff. So let's grab more furnaces. And I didn't notice that our burner miners are out of fuel. It's okay, I don't actually have to fill those until later. I mean, we have all the furnaces we need. So let's grab these boxes. The first one I want to fill out is green chips, because I want green chips. Let's make a bunch of other boxes. It doesn't really matter what kind of box you use for these. These are all basically buffers. You're not going to be storing an enormous amount of stuff in these. So now as our inserters start to build, we've gotten through all of our belt and all of our miners, we can start to plop down some of our inserters. So that'll feed 3 furnaces, well, 6 furnaces on each side. So let's run the line for copper. Oh, I don't have belt. I ran out of belt. Okay. We're still making inserters. Go feed furnaces one more time. Lights, plop down lights. Because it's really dark. It's ridiculously dark. Right, I wanted to get these boxes down just to get them out of my inventory. Where did they go? I don't know. Oh, they're way at the end of that crafting. Alright, so let's put these inserters in. You know, point them the right way. There we go. Copper comes in from the top, goes through the furnace. deposits on the bottom belt. So we're running a mixed belt. Actually, it's 3 mixed belts. We have mixed coal and copper on the top belt, mixed copper plates and iron plates on the middle belt, and mixed iron ore and coal on the bottom belt. Actually works out really nicely. This is a really slick little design. I really like it. Again, it is not mine. This comes from Catherine of the Sky, and I forget who she got this from. Darn it. It's in one of her very first videos on her megabase tutorial series. The person who came up with this design, this blueprint, does speedruns of Factorio, and this is their speedrun blueprint. So we'll throw in some of these lights just to make the night less scary. The night is less dark and full of less terrors. So we are still waiting on crafting. Oh, let's cancel. Yeah, let's cancel some of these. Because we want belts and inserters. We'll throw down the last of our inserters here. Belts and splitters, sorry. We want belts and splitters. So I want to make more belts, because handcrafting belts is annoying. So that will give us belts and a buffer chest. I have 2 boxes left over. Throw them up here. That will buffer science, which isn't really necessary in a single-player game, especially if you're just playing for fun, but I kind of like it because it keeps your systems occupied while you're not researching science, and then when you do research science, you don't end up running into any bottlenecks because you have a bunch of saved science sitting in those buffer chests. It's kind of handy. So we're going to build... Yeah, here I am explaining that the colors don't really matter, except that the 2 or 3 blue assembly machines, assembly machine 2, that are in this blueprint, do matter, and you'll see in just a second what happens when you plop down an assembly machine 1 on an assembly machine 2. Ready? Are you ready for it? It's fantastic. Super dumb rookie mistake. Plop. Oh, it didn't keep the recipe. Why didn't it keep the recipe? Because it's an advanced assembler. That's why. I don't know if I realized it until I plopped down these science labs one. Yep, there it is. Now I realized it. Oh, right. Science labs need 3 ingredients to craft. You cannot craft a science lab or an inserter in assembly machine 1. Now the nice part here that I'm going to explain in a second is these blueprints, you can just replop them. So grab the giant blueprints, zoom out, and again shift click, and you just shift click over what you already have, and hey look, there they are. There's our ghost images for what is missing again. So you can repair damaged blueprints pretty easily. The only thing that can really damage a blueprint, ghost images out on the playfield, is you. Grenades don't damage them, biters don't damage them. It's all you, which is dangerous enough. So we're going to build a whole bunch of belts, and we are going to run belt up to our copper. Or are we going to run belt? We're going to run belt to coal first. Or not. We're going to wait for belt to finish. So I don't remember exactly where this thing starts. Nice part about ghost images is you can just shift click on the playfield with any part in your hand and lay a ghost image, which allows you to plan things like this. It doesn't have to be blueprints, it can just be single parts. You just shift click and it'll place down a ghost image, and you can use that to plan out all kinds of things. And in fact, in this case, I don't remember where the copper ends, And the nice part about a ghost image is you're not restricted by your building range. You can just plop them down pretty much anywhere you can see, including plopping them through radar, which we'll do in a later video. That's pretty nice, because then you can actually like build parts of your base through radar, through construction robots, because they do the building for you when you just identify a ghost image. So now that we have all of this laid out, sort of, we're going to need coal in a minute. Let's fill out our iron smelting, or our iron mine here. So now that everything's run out of fuel and smelting, we're going to convert this over to electric. And to do so, I have 12 miners, so we're going to put 6 on each side of this belt. And yes, 6 on each side. We're going to try and make it symmetrical as we can. So there's 6 there. I can't quite do the same thing on the other side, though, because while I can put one there, and it'll make about 4,000 material, yeah, I'll have to put the other one there, which is also fine. So that gives us 6 and 6. And then, to give yourself some headroom, well, first let's connect these. So this is basically what I'm doing. The problem with this arrangement is that there isn't good compression on the belt, which isn't an enormous deal, it's just kind of annoying. We'll fix it later by throwing in some fast belts, some red belts, because that'll help us compress things really nicely. I ran out of power poles, so we'll build more power poles. There we go, and bang, they start mining. And that one should power everything. Oh, nope. Can't reach that one because it's blocked by a miner. Power poles don't go that far. So we'll throw in that there. And that gives us 12 little miners. And I'm apparently unconcerned that it's not going to be a full compressed belt, so that's fine. Again, this is super, super duper early starting stuff. And nothing is smelting because we need fuel. Do I actually add more miners? I don't remember. I do! I do! I'm so smart. Eventually. It takes me a while. You say, so these aren't in super optimized places? This is going to pull off of basically 3 squares on the ground. But it should help even out the distribution of stuff. Like I said, we're not going to get full coverage on the belt coming out of this mine, because we are looking for, except it's all backed up because we have no fuel because we're not smelting anything. Because we're just looking to saturate one side of that belt. That's just the way the design works. So we run our belt all the way up here and build ourselves a splitter. Yes, we'll build a lot of splitters. Splitters are awesome. They are fantastic. I love them. I use them all the time. We'll mark that as a favorite. We'll pin it to our toolbar. And actually, yeah, we'll move the blueprint book into our inventory for now. I do like to have the blueprint book on my toolbar once I have the tool belt and I have the full 20 slots for toolbar. So there we go, splitter on our coal, and the coal comes down to our smelting lines, Our first two smelting columns, that's a big deal. So these are going to make enough iron and copper to fill out the science labs up above at the top of this. These science labs up there. Yeah, these science labs. They're going to get filled out by that many. That's all it takes. It's just that many. So let's connect copper next. We need copper for copper wire, which is needed for green chips. Oh, I'm building undergrounds, that's right. It's a bit excessive. I'll just cancel some of these. You can cancel, excuse me, you can cancel a build in the lower left corner by right-clicking on either the current thing building, which is in the very lower left, or one of its prerequisites or post-requisites, the things that it eventually becomes, that will cancel the whole line of construction. Which is nice to skip ahead and build other things. So we'll throw that back into our inventory, and let's make some. Yeah, definitely don't need burner inserters in there. I don't know why I pinned that. I think that was just for demonstration purposes. Okay, so we can make 7 electric drills. That's not great, but that's fine. It'll work. It'll work. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So as these build, we can plop them down and connect up some power and at least get a small amount of output from this mine. So we have a couple of options for power connection. In this case, we can double up our miners and power them by 1 power pole. It's a little bit more efficient in terms of space usage. I mean, it's up to you. It is honestly all up to you. What you like and what you don't like. So we'll throw down our last miner, and that one of course has to be offset, so it gets power. So we follow our copper line, we can run on the belt here. And, oh, copper is getting mushed up on the coal because I neglected to put that piece in. I think it's a mistake in my blueprint. Well, with the copper installed, we can take out the filter inserters. And you can see we are now smelting iron and copper pretty effectively. Pretty darn effectively. So these are buffer chests, these chests out here, and you can limit them by clicking on that red X and then selecting the inventory slots that you don't want to be filled. So in this case, like, I just want maybe 4 slots of belts to be kept as buffer, the rest to be thrown in that dedicated chest for me to draw from. Same with inserters, I don't want it to keep a ton of inserters. I mean, I use them, but I can always come over and adjust the buffer levels. For green chips, really, you can have as many green chips as you need. Killing off that line basically means that that chest is going to contain 1,000 green chips once it's finished. So, as I said before, this is a assembly machine 2. It can build things that require 2 or 3 items. So there's automation 1. Assembly machines are in automation 2. So to research it, we can't research it right away. It's red. We need its prerequisite research, which is electronics here. So you click on that. It'll also give us filter inserters, but it also unlocks a whole bunch of other good stuff. So let's go ahead and research electronics. And our little labs up in the upper right corner in the northeastern corner of our map, we'll go to researching. Alright, so now I'm going to drop this ore into the furnaces. This is holding down control and left clicking across those furnaces to just drop the ore in. Let's take a look at those labs, by the way. And oh yeah, if you notice here, we are running a bit short, so we are not producing enough coal. So I will have to go back and revise that coal mine. So you can see our little labs are doing their thing, but yeah, we're starting to run a little low on copper plate. So we'll fill that back up. Perfect. And how are we doing on iron plate? I have 1 to contribute. Okay, fine. We'll just put that one in there, but I have to come back and put more iron in there. Maybe, or maybe not, depending on how quickly we can get that science station up and running. So things are looking good. Things are running pretty well. I think this is where we end it for today. We'll get, yeah. We need to build our blue assemblers. Yeah, I have those 2 assemblers down there that make labs. Yes, that make labs. I actually just manually fill them with materials to make labs, and then I switch them over to grenades. So we can get rid of trees. But I don't know if I'll need them on this map. There are not a ton of trees. Oh yes, this is important. You know what a splitter will do. It will move that entire line. But if you block off part of the splitter's output with one of these underground belts, watch what happens. The only thing to go onto the northern belt is the copper, because the hood of the underground belt blocks the iron from getting onto it. It's a neat little trick, and it's extremely high throughput as well. It's much higher throughput than, say, using a filter inserter to pull off only specific parts of a belt. When you know for sure that one side of a belt is always going to be one particular thing. So anyway, this is our entire, our little starter base. Yeah, if we do another video, next video is going to be all these science labs. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully it didn't run by too quickly. And I remembered that I forgot to stop this in a spot where you could screenshot these things. Anyway, without further ado, have a great day and be awesome.